Minton is here now with an investigation he broke only on News Channel 4. Who's guarding the Guardians, Tim?
Rob, Felicia, when somebody becomes incapacitated, a court often steps in. The idea is to get somebody involved who can protect that person's assets. But it may amaze you to know what a guardian can do under a little-known provision of state law called Article 81. Like most people coming into this court, Dr. Mark Murphy might have expected the judge would help and protect him. Murphy, which isn't his real name, he asked not to be identified to ensure his family's privacy and security, had amassed millions in the stock market. 2 years ago, a niece claiming concern that Alzheimer's left the 85-year-old doctor unable to take care of financial affairs brought him to court asking that she be named guardian. What happened instead is Judge Diane Lebedeff appointed 3 lawyers, and one of them in turn hired 2 more lawyers, all of whom were supposed to be protecting Dr. Murphy's assets, and all of whom started billing for their services. So what led Judge Lebedeff to appoint those particular people to the lucrative Murphy case?
There was a lot of money involved in this case, and it certainly has the appearance that appointments were made based on the relationship that the judge had with these individuals.
What's clear is that all of those appointed were, like the judge herself, influential members of the New York County Lawyers Association, which recently had its annual dinner.
It was a feeding frenzy.
Robert Abrams, who literally wrote the book on guardianship law, means the billing records, which he reviewed last year at the request of Dr. Murphy's wife. He says what's troubling is that hundreds of thousands of dollars billed to Dr. Murphy in less than a year by Judge Lebedeff's appointees were approved by the judge in full.
Anybody could put in any time they want and get paid for it.
Court-appointed guardian Stephen Shapiro billed for all but 10 calendar days in a 6-month period. And on May 10th of last year, Shapiro actually billed for 42 hours of work, $12,600 on a single day. In a statement, Shapiro says he did absolutely nothing illegal or unethical. As for that overbilling, he says it was an inadvertent transcription of 42 minutes into 42 hours. I was totally unaware of the error until it was brought to my attention. I promptly returned the fee. But what's maybe most amazing, after reviewing the original one-day, 42-hour bill, Judge Lebedeff had ordered it paid.
It appears to me that her behavior was clearly inappropriate, and certainly has the appearance to me that it was corrupt.
Confronted last summer by Abrams with his allegations, Judge Lebedeff withdrew from the case. Nevertheless, she responded to a News Channel 4 interview request with a letter that says, as a sitting judge, I view it as my obligation not to make a public statement on a pending case. Critics say the Murphy case is hardly the only guardian grab fest. Some who say their assets were grabbed demonstrated last month.
They're taking over people's bank accounts, people's houses.
No one is watching the guardians. No one is watching the judges.
Alarm about the system spread a year ago when questions emerged about why a pair of lawyers were appointed to help guard assets, not those of a person, but of Cypress Hills Cemetery. That led New York Chief Judge Judith Kaye to launch an investigation.
Clearly, we all have our work cut out for us.
Among investigators' questions, how does routine legal work required in most guardianship cases generate such high billing? A skeptical and critical Judge Richard Lowe, who took over the Murphy matter 3 months ago, says a guardianship case is like a feeding trough. The system appoints a plethora of professionals, all who at the end have their faces in the trough. What's your reaction to this, Judge?
What's my reaction? My reaction as the Chief Judge of the state of New York is not on my watch.
And yet, ma'am, respectfully, this has been happening on your watch.
It's been happening for a very, very long time.
It was 7 years ago when taxi driver Erwin Sarge swerved to avoid a double-parked bus, crashing his cab into a fire hydrant.
He was technically dead for a couple of seconds. I guess that's what caused him to have his brain damage and his incapacitation.
Erwin's son and only remaining relative, radio sports reporter Ashley Sarge, asked a court to name him guardian of his father's $1 million in assets. Instead, a Queens judge appointed Robert